The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the member for Wills.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, this motion is a really important one, and I would hope that we can get out of the politicisation of it. Obviously, I want to acknowledge the member for McNamara for moving this motion on affordable housing, because it is a public policy area that is deeply personal to many of us, to me. Without access to public housing, I wouldn't be where I am today, and that's the truth. That journey from a houser to a renter to a homeowner also involved educational opportunities that flowed to migrants, my family and their children. And when governments got housing policy right, it made a real difference to our lives and our ability to make that contribution. And I'm keenly aware that it was easier to make that journey coming of age in the 1980s and 1990s than it is right now, for a whole host of reasons that we're debating and talking about. But it's why we have to get these critical policies right, why we have to put the politics aside and do the work necessary instead of grandstanding on it, because it matters to all of us. Access to good housing is a fundamental human right. It's a matter of basic dignity. We need a roof over our heads to be able to engage in our community, to fully participate at school or work, to look for and get a job, to contribute. And that, as I said, Deputy Speaker, gave my family, my sister and I, an opportunity to pursue our education and give back to the country that had given us so much. And that's a reality that I want for other Australians, for all Australians actually. And I know this is the reality that the Prime Minister and the Housing Minister, the new Housing Minister, Claire O'Neill, wants for all Australians. So housing affordability and rental stress, it's an issue that cuts very deeply across the country and causes stress to people in my community of Wills. It's for the young family trying to manage alongside childcare fees. It's for the university student juggling study with part-time work, for the older Australians relying on their pension or their super. We have far too many Australians experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness. In fact, single women over 55 are particularly vulnerable to homelessness. It is unacceptable that in a country endowed with such wealth and opportunity, that many of our fellow Australians have nowhere to call home or at risk of not having a home. I recently met with Dini Leonarachichi and Chris Sparks from Housing for the Aged Action Group, HAG, a Melbourne-based organisation that supports older Australians who are homeless or facing homelessness. They talked a lot about older women who are often forgotten, who fall through the cracks in conversations when we talk about vulnerable groups. They also raised elder abuse as not being spoken about as much when issues of family violence are raised as well. The group want interventions to focus on people who are at risk of homelessness before they end up actually sleeping rough. And I also recently hosted a youth housing roundtable with Minister O'Neill. I think it was her first in her new portfolio. We heard about all of the rental conditions, the poor rental conditions that people face, invasive rental application requirements, and stressful no grounds evictions. And a lot of the young people there described home ownership as being out of reach, and that they needed to make compromises such as living at home with parents for longer or to save for a deposit, or putting studies on hold to afford rent or a bond. These are stories reflected across Australia, and they're unfortunately not new. And housing affordability is an issue that has been deepened by 10 years of inaction by the previous government, the coalition government, and it's an issue that we, in coming into power 2 years ago, are working every day to fix. It's something that is front and centre in our mind to work on affordability and supply, because Australia doesn't have enough homes, and we haven't for a while. Our priority is clear. Our objective is to build more homes for more Australians, and we need to do this faster while also providing immediate support to Australians in need. And the government has an ambitious national target of building 1.2 million new homes by the end of the decade. We've added $6.2 billion in investment to build more homes. We've brought the total of new housing initiatives to $32 billion in just 2 years. We're supporting the build of new homes by growing our construction workforce to the point that was made by the previous speaker, by $1.5 billion to states and territories for housing infrastructure and works and more social housing. There are so many programs and policies that we've put in place in just a short time, and include that, of course, the $2.7 billion increase to Commonwealth rent assistance and $1.9 billion increase at the budget as well, doubling it twice there, and the Build to Rent scheme, which we've introduced to boost the build of more homes to ensure Australians can have access to safe and secure and affordable housing. This is money in the pockets, the $4.6 billion, into the pockets of 1 million Australians who are feeling rental stress. But I will say this, Deputy Speaker, in conclusion. This is something that we are working on every day. It's not about the politics. This is about building more homes and addressing what the issue is: supply, supply, supply.
Hear, hear.